All right, Broncos country, looks like we are live, but you guys know the drill by now. We've got to let the stream breathe for just a second here and make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome in, Broncos country, to this Denver Broncos Syndicate live stream. I'm your host, Gage Madrid. We're going to go ahead and let some people start streaming on in here before we officially get started. While we do that, if you could just do me a big favor and smash the like button on this stream, as well as subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider becoming a channel member today. That it is not mandatory whatsoever, but if you want some extra perks and incentives in exchange for helping me out, helping the channel grow, and helping improve the production quality of this content, I would really appreciate it. The link is in the description below. We've already got 5 people in the house. I am a little bit late with this news, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and bring it in here. According to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, the Broncos and defensive tackle Malcolm Roach have agreed on a 3-year contract extension worth up to $29.25 million with $14 million guaranteed. Another core player locked up. That is the 3rd extension in the last few days for the Denver Broncos. They locked up Will Lutz. Yesterday, they locked up Luke Wattenberg. And today, they locked up Malcolm Roach. I'm a big fan of 2 of these deals, the Will Lutz deal and this Malcolm Roach deal. He's making less than $10 million per year in average annual value, $14 million guaranteed. If we bring that over here and take a look at the interior defensive lineman contracts in the NFL, in terms of average annual value, this is a steal. I mean, the highest paid interior defensive lineman is Chris Jones. Zach Allen is number 3 at $25.5 million per year. I mean, we come down here and he's down here with like Mason Graham, who's on a rookie deal, the 5th overall pick in this year's draft. Justin Jones, Malik Collins, Puna Ford, Draymond Jones, even though he's playing edge rusher now, Daquan Jones. So this is an extraordinarily cheap deal in terms of average annual value. And then the total guaranteed money, extraordinarily cheap as well. So, quite frankly, the Denver Broncos got a massive, massive steal here with this Malcolm Roach contract. They were able to come away with a starting caliber player paying him backup caliber money. So, quite frankly, I think this is a massive move for the Denver Broncos as my morning alarm clock goes off. There we go. You guys don't know, I'm a late sleeper. I sleep in until about 11:15 in the morning. I don't usually go to bed until 3, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. Leadhead in the house saying, love Roach. Wish we could do the same with JFM, but I doubt we will. Sternod should be next. You can keep them all, and I bet you can't keep them all, and I bet JFM wants paid. I understand that. I think JFM is going to get a nice payday. That said, when you look at the Broncos' finances yet next year, especially when you consider that they're going to have the Russell Wilson deal off the books, I think that they could get this done. But they're prioritizing paying other players, and they're also prioritizing making additions in free agency. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think John Franklin Myers makes such a big impact on your defense. Losing him would be devastating. He collapses the pocket on the interior. He makes life easier for your edge rushers. He makes life easier for Zach Allen. So if it were me, I would absolutely pay John Franklin Myers. I would have paid John Franklin Myers over Luke Wattenberg. Clearly, the Denver Broncos are prioritizing other positions. I can't necessarily say I agree with that, but the Denver Broncos haven't exactly led us astray with some of the moves they've made. Only once or twice have these moves end up being mistakes for them. So I trust the Denver Broncos in terms of how they judge who they want to extend versus who they don't want to extend. Additionally, they did draft Savion Jones with the hope that he would eventually become the John Franklin Myers replacement. They're very similar in terms of size and build as well as play style. So that's the hope for the Denver Broncos long term, is that Savion Jones develops into your starter at the interior defensive line alongside Zach Allen, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, but still, man, not having John Franklin Myers next year, at least in my opinion, would be devastating for this defense. Leadhead says, same here, Gage. I definitely take JFM over Wattenberg. I want him back. Yeah, I definitely want JFM back too. And Wattenberg, it kind of is what it is. The extension's been done, so I can't really complain about it now. It's not the move that I would have made, but the Broncos are confident that Luke Wattenberg is going to continue to develop as a player. I really like what he brings in terms of pass protection. He's also really smart, but his shortcomings are in run blocking, where he gets blown up off the ball way too often, mostly due to a lack of play strength, and then his actual snapping. His snaps are either too high or too low, and it throws off the actual timing of the play. So for me, that is the big issue with Luke Wattenberg, and that's why I wouldn't have extended him at this point in time. But clearly, the Broncos feel different. Do we let Adam Troutman and PJ Locke walk? I think they'll try to bring back PJ as maybe like some depth on special teams, but Troutman, I am 100% letting walk. I am done with Adam Troutman here in Denver. Devin in the house saying JFM is turning 30 next year, which I get, and I imagine that's also going to factor into the decision for the Denver Broncos, but signing him to a deal until he's 33, I think that's fair. You could probably expect him to hold up that high level of production until he's 33, so I think that he's got at least one more big contract ahead of him. I don't know if the Denver Broncos are going to be the team that pays him that deal. If they do, they're going to drag this out until the very end. But realistically, Denver has been preparing for life without John Franklin Myers. And I think extending Malcolm Roach was a key part in preparing for life without John Franklin Myers. No matter what, Malcolm Roach makes a massive impact on this defensive line because he's somebody who can be both a pass rusher as well as a run defender. We saw the production on the Broncos defensive line go up dramatically. We saw the run defense improve almost overnight when Malcolm Roach made his return from that calf injury that cost him the first few games of the season. So for me, at least, Malcolm Roach was a guy that I would have prioritized getting done. I still would have gotten John Franklin Myers done over Malcolm Roach, but I'm happy for Malcolm. He brings energy, he brings juice, he brings enthusiasm to the Denver Broncos locker room. You really get to see it during training camp when you're a lot more up close and intimate with the players. You get to see Malcolm Roach chirping at the offense. You get to see him gas up his fellow defensive players whenever they make a play. So Malcolm Roach, he's a good glue guy to have in the locker room, and that's why the Denver Broncos, at least in my opinion, prioritized getting an extension done. But I'm still hoping there's plenty left on the table for guys like John Franklin Myers. Okay, what did I miss? This Malcolm Roach extension, Holy Diver. JFM 2-year extension gives Savion more time to develop. You see, in an ideal world, I would do that. The problem is, I think JFM is looking for more of a long-term deal, maybe 3 or 4 years. He's looking for more guaranteed money. This is probably his last chance to dip in and get that bag in his career. So I don't blame JFM for wanting to maximize his money, but I could also look at it, maybe JFM doesn't want to go and be on another losing team. Remember, he came here from the Jets, the most losing organization in all football as far as I'm concerned. So I think that maybe wanting to stay here so he can keep winning football games is a possibility, but in terms of business, JFN is going to want to get paid. I don't blame him there. Roach 3 years sounds good to me. Yep, and when you look at the finances of this deal, we broke it down at the beginning of the stream, so if you want to go back and take a look at that, you can. It's a big, big steal for the Denver Broncos, man. They are paying him pennies on the dollar in comparison to other interior defensive linemen in the NFL. I mean, his contract is almost down there with like rookie contract type money. In fact, he's making less than Mason Graham, the 5th overall pick in this year's draft. So this is a big-time steal getting Malcolm Roach under this contract. Appeal to JFM's desire to finish healthy. And the Broncos have shown signs of taking care of their own. So I'd like to hope they will eventually try to get something done with JFM, but they've been prioritizing getting all these guys done ahead of him. And the reports ever since the beginning of this process, have indicated that JFM is probably not in line to get the next contract extension. I really hope the Denver Broncos figure out that they can't live without John Franklin Myers and they decide to pay him. That is the one guy right now that I think we're all kind of waiting on to see, do they pay him? Do they not pay him? Jaquan McMillan's another one, but Jaquan has a lot easier of a path to coming back just because he's a restricted free agent. You can put a tender on him. I don't think Denver's going to deny him the opportunity to maybe get paid as the highest paid nickel player in the NFL by some other team. They'll either match it or they'll let that team pay him. I don't think they're going to deny Jaquan McMillan the opportunity to get paid, but they will most likely place a tender on him. That way they have a little bit more control moving forward. So that should answer your question there, Holy Diver. I wonder if they're waiting for the Russell Wilson money to come off the books to pay JFM. I mean, they could pay him now and designate the money to go once the Russell Wilson money comes off the books. I'm assuming that's what they're doing with a lot of these players right now. So that's not the issue here. They could get this deal done tomorrow if they really wanted to. It just kind of seems like the Denver Broncos are content moving on from JFM, and long-term, they think Savion Jones is going to develop into a good player for them. Whether that's the right or the wrong move, I don't know at this point in time, but I do feel like the Denver Broncos, they are preparing for life without John Franklin Myers. What's the difference between a restricted free agent and an unrestricted free agent? So an unrestricted free agent is just that. You are free to sign with any team, anywhere, no questions asked. Your other team can't do anything about it. They could offer another deal, but ultimately it's in the player's hands. If you're if you're a restricted free agent, rather, you can have a tender put on you. So you could have a first, a second, or a third round tender put on you. And essentially, the Denver Broncos have control of you in free agency. So you can go and talk to other teams. You can go and inquire about other contracts. If another team offers you a deal, Denver has the right to match that deal. And if Denver doesn't want to match that deal and the other team signs, Denver can get a draft pick in return. So that's kind of how restricted free agency and unrestricted free agency works. Essentially, like Fett says here, Denver reserves the right to match any deal that another team offers a restricted free agent. So Jaquan McMillan, the Denver Broncos have a little bit more control over him because he's a restricted free agent. It may also be JFM wanting too much money. That's the issue. That's very possible as well. And I don't blame JFM because on the open market, he's probably going to get paid a pretty significant chunk of cash. So I don't blame JFM for wanting to get the best possible offer out there. Like I said, this is probably his last chance to dip into that bag and get that big contract. So if the Denver Broncos think that he's got a better opportunity to get paid elsewhere, they're going to let him walk. They're going to do right by the player in that regard. The reason for my concern is that I feel we haven't seen Savion enough to feel comfortable. Maybe the Broncos management has. Well, generally, the Broncos don't play a lot of rookies, right? They haven't played a lot of rookies during the Sean Payton era. Riley Moss, he barely saw playing time in year one. Then he became a starter in year two. So that's kind of the hope here, I would imagine, for a guy like Savion Jones, is that maybe he sits back, learns this year. It's almost like a redshirt year for him. He gets to learn behind John Franklin Myers, Malcolm Roach, DJ Jones, Zach Allen, and then they hand the keys over to him next year after he's had a year of development on the bench. I could see that. I think that's very possible. I do believe that the Denver Broncos like Savion Jones, and long-term, they envision him as the replacement for John Franklin Myers. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this stream up here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Be sure to leave a like as well as subscribe. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond on supporting the channel in exchange for some extra perks and incentives and helping improve the production quality of this content, the link is in the description below. I would really appreciate if you would consider that as well. All right, guys, and until next time, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.